Hi everyone! Today we're going to be talking about a few of our favorite classics. If you are looking for a new favorite classic, this is the video for you. Before we go on, however, we'd like to ask you a quick question. Would you please, in the comments down below, tell us what types of videos you would like to see from us? That way we can know best what the audience wants to see from us, and it also gives us ideas for future videos.
My first classic, and probably the one I read earliest in my life, was Little Women, and I know I've talked about this a lot before. Little Women is one of my favorite books. I love following the girls as they live their lives and make their various decisions. It's just such a lovable book.
For my first book on the list, I chose The Hobbit, or There and Back Again, by J.R.R. Tolkien. As I've mentioned multiple times in past videos, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings are some of my absolute favorite books of all time. One of the many reasons to love The Hobbit is because it's a fun, relatively easy read, and it's a great introduction to Tolkien's works.
The second classic on my list is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë. Jane Eyre is one of the books that caused me to really start loving classics. I finished it and I was absolutely amazed when I put it down. I never thought a classic could make me feel so strongly as Jane Eyre did. It is such a dramatic book, and it's positively enrapturing.
Another of my favorites, and you can probably guess, is The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. This book, or series as some people say, is considered one of the best pieces of literature. One of the things I love about this story is it's got such a simple premise, and yet the execution of it is unrivaled by anything else that I've read.
Number 3 on my list is The Tenat of Wildfell Hall, yet another Brontë sister book. This one's by Anne Brontë. This one was very different. I read this one relatively recently, and it's paced and laid out in a very different way than I'm used to seeing in most books. The Tenat of Wildfell Hall is shrouded in mystery so that the ending is almost surprising, and the characters are they have a lot of layers to them, and that's a really cool aspect.
The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy, as we've already talked about a little bit a while back, is another amazing classic that I think everybody needs to read at some point in time. It's an intriguing and mysterious, yet lighthearted adventure, but that doesn't stop it from having some seriously deep themes.
Number 4 on my list is Wuthering Heights by Emily Brontë, another Brontë sister book. Wuthering Heights is a very odd, dark, and passionate book. And because it's so odd, I honestly don't know what else to say about it. It really intrigued me, and I liked it. And the journey reading it was weird, but I still loved it.
My next is a book called A Tale of the Western Plains by G.A. Henty. I don't actually have a copy of this book, but I need to get one. It is written like a Western, but because it's written by G.A. Henty, it has absolutely gorgeous prose and is a little bit difficult to read, but it has an absolutely amazing story.
Number 5 is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. It's actually been a while since I've read this book, so I can't remember exactly what I loved so much about it. To Kill a Mockingbird is such a beautiful and timeless book about childhood, but it also entwines some mature issues, and it's a really deep book, more than you'd anticipate, I think.
My next is Out on the Pampas, also by G.A. Henty. This is once again written like a classic Western, but what makes it unique is that it's set in Argentina and is about a family who has to survive rather than a single lone cowboy.
Number 6 on my list is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This book is another one of those odd, kind of a little bit dark books, but it's really, really intriguing. I love the parallel between the man and the monster, and I just love that book so much. There's a lot of mixed reviews about it, but I thought it was great.
Call of the Wild by Jack London is my next book on the list. It is a short and easy to read story that follows the adventures of a dog as he's trying to survive in the Yukon, I believe. While it is a relatively easy to read book, it also has very strong and at times dark themes.
Number 7 on my list is Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. One of the things I love about this book is the character, Huckleberry. His thought process is so odd and fun to follow. And the simpleness of life is really prevalent in this book too, and that's just a very nice thing to read about.
I also chose to put Huckleberry Finn on this list. This is a classic Mark Twain adventure with heart and humor, and it is an amazing look into the U.S. South before the Civil War.
Number 8 for me is A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. This is another Mark Twain book, and it's been a while since I read this, but it focuses on one of my favorite tropes, which is a character from a wildly different culture or era or time period going into a different place and comparing how life has changed so much. I really loved this book. It was fun and lighthearted, and in an interesting way, it was very real.
While The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis are not my favorite fantasy series, I do think it's an amazing classic. It's an extremely fun and whimsical series that truly feels immersive and you really feel like you could live in the world.
Number 9 is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. There is so much about this book that I love. The characters, the stakes are really high, the hidden messages that are everywhere through this book, and the sacrifices are really, really powerful. I read this book with study guide and that helped me a lot because it is such a deep book.
My 9th is another book that I don't actually own, and that is The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. This is a terrifying and brilliant look into what the world could look like if aliens did invade Earth. Yet it is written in a simple and easy enough way to follow and understand that makes it such an enjoyable read.
Number 10 on my list is the Encyclopedia. Actually, no, this is the Oxford Shakespeare Complete Works. My next favorite is Macbeth. I listened to an audiobook of this, and I think I fell asleep for a little bit of it, so I'm missing a little bit of it. But I do remember absolutely loving one section where the characters are struggling with the decisions and the choices that they've made, and it's a very intense struggle, and I loved it. It's another one of those odd and a little bit dark books, but it's very Shakespeare.
Moby Dick by Herman Melville is the next one on my list. I found this to be an extremely interesting look into the world of whaling and the superstitions of the sailors. But beyond that, the horrors and struggles of sea life when you're away from land for such extended amounts of time.
Number 11 and the last book on my list is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. This was a peculiar book and I didn't know what to think of it at first, and I'm honestly not sure. I did take a break between parts of it, so I read half and then I took a break and I read the other half. So that's probably a big part of why I don't know what I think. I did find that the parallel between the two personalities was really interesting, and the battle that Dr. Jekyll had with his own conscience of what his other self was. That was just really, really interesting to follow.
And the last on my list is Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe. I had to read this for school, and so the fact that I actually read it and enjoyed it as much as I did is a testament to how good this book is. It's a harrowing look into the United States pre-Civil War, and also a testament to the individuality and the strength of will that the slaves could have.
This isn't by any means an exhaustive list of classics, but these are ones that we've read and loved, and I hope you find a couple of new favorites in here too.
Let us know in the comments down below if you have read any of these amazing classics, and if you have, tell us which ones are your favorite.
Also, in the comments down below, let us know any specific video ideas you want us to make.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Stay warm.